Good morning to all. It is a great pleasure to welcome you to the first online eTwinning Conference 2020 on the topic of Classroom in Action, addressing climate change with eTwinning. Supporting the European Green Deal, eTwinning acknowledges that students of today are the adults of tomorrow and most likely are going to experience the effects of climate change. That is why it is imperative to learn to live sustainably in order to counteract climate change and other environmental challenges. Schools participating in eTwinning can equip actually the teachers with the necessary information and knowledge to help them reflect on climate change and make their students understand its implications as early as possible. Additionally, we believe that teachers and their students play a really important role in raising awareness about the imminent changes that are expected to challenge humanity in the coming years in consequence to climate change. Therefore, all throughout the year, the focus of eTwinning was, and it continues to be, the climate change and to give the students, through their teachers, all the necessary information to develop new attitudes, learning about appropriate choices and making more environmental conscious choices. Also today, regarding this topic, we have put in our portal, you can find published, our new eTwinning book, Classrooms in Action, Teaching Climate Change with eTwinning. Here, I would advise you to go and check all the information we have in the book. It's a very rich book with contributions from DG Klima. We have contributions from our eTwinning friend EcoSchools, and you can also find very interesting projects that teachers like you have created about climate change, environment, all the different aspects, and also many suggested activities that you can implement in your projects. And we know that this year many eTwinning projects run on this very, very important topic. But now I would like actually to invite, it's really a great honor this year for eTwinning, because we have with us Commissioner Maria Gabriel, Commissioner of Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, and she's here with us to welcome the participants. Mrs. Gabriel, I have to say we are very honored that the eTwinning community has you with us, and I would like to give you the floor and officially open the eTwinning Conference 2020.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The honor is mine. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to our annual eTwinning Conference. Allow me just at the beginning to say that having this opportunity to address so many dedicated teachers and eTwinning members, I would like to begin with a few words of gratitude and appreciation for your work. Thank you. Thank you for connecting Europe and beyond. And thank you for continuing to do this in the current situation where we need your community. Thank you for your engagement, for your commitment, for your bright ideas. And I think really that we can achieve a lot because we are working together. And this is why today I would like to talk about the importance of common efforts, including in tackling global challenges, such as climate change, which is the eTwinning thematic priority for this year. I will also have the pleasure of announcing the theme for 2021 before concluding with a brief mention of the education package I presented recently. Let me start with the importance of joint efforts. The COVID-19 crisis has had an unprecedented impact on our education systems. We have learned a lot from it, including how important the sense of community really is. During the confinement period, students missed social interactions with their friends, teachers in the classroom. Teachers found it harder to reach those furthest away, those in need of a more inclusive space. And many schools reopened at the beginning of the school year, but we know that restrictions may come again. This school year can remain as challenging as the previous one, and we need to be ready. We need to increase the strength and resilience of our education and training systems and to be prepared to use blended learning more. And much of that effort comes from your community. Since the beginning of the pandemic, eTwinners have been better prepared to go online and more used to helping, inspiring, and lifting each other's spirits. eTwinning is much more than a platform. It is above all a community of people working together and learn from each other. And there are so many inspiring examples. Take, for instance, staying home together. This eTwinning project connected young learners from Greece, Germany, and Romania during schools closures. Instead of being alone, so many students were able to stay connected, be part of a larger community, and engage in many activities at home. Another example is from Portugal. Teachers there used innovative pedagogies learned through eTwinning to support students while they were at home. In addition to sharing activities in their twin space, students joined chat sessions twice a week, a meeting against the coronavirus, as they call it. They talked about confinement, but also about many other topics, most notably the fight against climate change. They calculated their carbon footprint, comparing the results, reflecting on how they could reduce it, and completing a table with the causes and consequences of climate change. Bottom-up activities, such as these and many others, are extremely important. They become a reality thanks to the creativity of teachers. And I'm glad that the European Commission can empower the teachers who realize all these amazing initiatives. For example, as an exception, we allow the registration of intra-school projects. Two teachers from the same school could implement projects with their students, as many had no other means to do so. And nearly 470 schools seized this opportunity. A series of articles and stories on the public portal also showed how eTwinning helps teachers and students during school closures, featuring examples of practice. And eTwinning, for example, provided mini project kits to support teachers. And we had links to free resources and online tools on the portal. You know that we also set up a special eTwinning group on eTwinning in times of school closure. I talked so much about this group in front of our ministers of education, valuing the contribution of it. And I think that we have seen how this group included testimonials of teachers, such as the examples I have before, collaborative online activities, tutorials on a variety of topics, and some practical examples of activities from selected projects. This group has been relaunched with a new name, eTwinning at Home and Back to School, focusing on blended learning, and already has over 10,000 members. I know that our support has been met by a very dedicated community. We need your continued active engagement and support to tackle together the complex challenges we face, including climate change. And that's why the European Commission is taking decisive action in response to this challenge. Mrs. De La Torre will tell you more about our work on the European Climate Pact in a moment. I can assure you that the Commission listens very carefully to European citizens, including young people, when taking action in such an important area. We know that our young people attach great importance to climate change. Almost all respondents to a recent Eurobarometer survey said that environmental protection was important to them personally. And young people point out that fighting climate change, together with education and skills, is a priority for action at European level. At the same time, there is a gap between the expressed concern for the environment and the actual knowledge on how to act effectively. Our duty is to provide European citizens, especially the young people, with the knowledge and skills needed to protect the environment. And schools and teachers have a major role to play here. They can help learners understand the challenges and empower them to act. And I thank you for focusing on this important topic this year. I'm happy to see just how much of a difference eTwinning can make. It provides you, educators, with a dynamic European community where you can find resources and ideas. It offers you the opportunity to share and exchange best practices, and it can also be part of your professional development. For learners, eTwinning is a powerful learning experience in which they engage in collaborative work. It is also a great example of how cooperation between schools can help address big societal challenges in very concrete and creative ways. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the coronavirus outbreak provided us with a rapid learning experience. Digital education is undoubtedly an integral part of all education and training, and we need to ensure that it is accessible to all regardless of their background. And eTwinning is one of the ways in which students from all backgrounds can interact with information and communication technologies. And they can do this guided by teachers who can help encourage creative problem solving and critical thinking about what is being seen. In this context, it should come as no surprise that the eTwinning thematic priority for 2021 is media literacy and disinformation. I believe that in times like this, when digital technology is becoming more important, and we have discussions about fake news in social media and beyond, it is more important than ever to work on such a topic. Digital literacy has become essential for everyday life. Education should more actively help learners to develop the capability, the ability to critically approach, filter, and assess information, notably to identify disinformation. Today, more than 40% of young people consider that critical thinking, media, and democracy are not taught sufficiently in school. The challenge is particularly relevant for younger students, nearly all of whom are online every day. Of course, I do not expect teachers to solve the problems of disinformation and media literacy in a vacuum. We worked hard to provide solid support to all of you. At the end of September, I presented a new digital education action plan and a vision on how to make the European education area a reality by 2025. Teachers are essential for both initiatives. By its nature, eTwinning helps educators to adopt innovative teaching methods and pedagogical concepts. And in the European education area, we'll set up Erasmus-supported teachers' academies, which will bring together institutions dedicated to teacher education and develop new pedagogies to strengthen your skills. The Digital Education Action Plan will also support digital education in many ways, from the development of digital pedagogies that you'll be able to use in the classroom, to connectivity and infrastructure so that you can connect to a more diverse group of learners. These initiatives, like eTwinning itself, will be supported by our flagship program, Erasmus+. We are now, in the final phase of negotiations with the European Parliament and the Council, and I hope that a political agreement will be reached soon so that the new program can start as planned next year. The new program will be more inclusive and will place a new emphasis on mobility and digital dimension. And I'm sure that eTwinning will contribute to enhancing virtual cooperation and blended mobility in the future program. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 16 years, more than 800,000 teachers have become eTwinners from more than 200,000 schools. You run more than 93,000 projects from kindergarten to secondary and vocational education. eTwinning and Erasmus Plus are part of our European success stories. eTwinning has helped you develop your professional skills and become real role models for those participating and beyond. We'll continue to further develop the platform, inspire schools with the eTwinning School label, and work with representatives of national ministries to further embed eTwinning in national education systems. Thank you once again for all the great work you have done. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very fruitful discussion.
Thank you very, very much, Commissioner. I would like to say that as an ex-teacher and an ex-eTwinner, I'm sure that all our eTwinning community really appreciate it, all the things you know about eTwinning, and all this appreciation, and they really need recognition, and it's really nice that you recognized their work. They really need all the teachers that from time to time. And I have to say that this digital education action plan looks very promising, and we hope that we will use it. And next year, I can assure you that even the previous years, many twinners have run projects already on fake news, disinformation, media literacy. Even we had yesterday winners in the prizes on that topics. So I'm sure that the twinners will continue the good job, and we just need from you, the ministries of education to help to have more and more teachers in our e-twinning community. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I count on you, and please count on me.
Thank you. And after all this, I'm sure, all these really interesting things we heard from our commissioner, I would like now to introduce the Deputy Director of Directorate General for Climate Action, Clara Della Torre. And she, as the Commissioner already said, she is going to tell us a little bit more about our annual theme, climate change. Mrs. Della Torre, welcome, good morning. We are very happy to have you with us. And I will just give you the floor because you are the expert on the topic, and we would really like to hear some more information about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure and an honor to be present to be virtually present in this event. I would have so much liked to be there with you. And let me echo the words of the Commissioner of gratitude towards the work that you were doing always, and in particular during this pandemic. Education is at the basis of our society and our development as persons, as our citizens. So it will never be too much to emphasize the importance of education. In particular, the e-twinning community can play a very important role, plays actually a very important role in raising awareness on climate change, on empowering young people to be prepared for the future which will have to look quite differently from what it looks like today. Climate change is not a faraway problem that some people look at and think of. No, it's a problem that we all have to address, that we have it with us, and we feel it in Europe as well. Climate change affects more poor societies, but it does affect rich societies as ours as well. Young people, we have to recognize it, have helped bring climate and environment to the top of the international agenda by standing up to their cause, pushing decision makers to act, and showing that together we can change. At the same time, we should not forget that there are some young people who may feel confused and helpless in the face of this global challenge, unsure of what is going to happen, unsure of what they can do, unsure of what this crisis really means. And importantly, many young people have as well, importantly not to forget, some young people have as well other issues on which to worry in their everyday lives. So, and they are not marching in the streets. So we have to do a transformation which leaves nobody behind and that addresses the concerns of all. The Commissioner was mentioning the European Green Deal, and this is what we want to achieve precisely with the European Green Deal, together with, as she rightly pointed, reminding us, with the digital transition and the Climate Pact as part of the Green Deal family, which will be launched in December. 10 months ago, the European Commission launched the Green Deal, an ambitious strategy to make the European Union the first climate neutral continent in the world, by 2050. And this transition is about the society, is about people, is about how we live every day, how we move, how we consume, how we produce, how we live together in a nutshell. Climate neutrality is certainly a huge task, but it's a task and a challenge which has plenty of opportunities and which will also bring us to a society with cleaner air, with cleaner water, with a sustainable soil, with more efficient buildings, better alternative transport, and certainly better health. We should not forget that in the moments like the one we are living, unfortunately, today. So we should have lived without this pandemic. But now that we're having this pandemic, let us take the opportunities we're having ahead of us. And since we have to build back, as we say, a new economy and a new society, let us build it back better in a smart way. This is why from the European Union, we have pressed with EU policies, aligning, making coherent works in different policy strands, ranging from energy to industry, farming, food production, biodiversity, sustainability goals, and certainly education, research, and innovation. So the European climate policy is at the heart of the Green Deal and is at the heart of the reconstruction, the recovery package, and of our long-term budget. As you know, to reach the 2050 target, to facilitate, to make it happen rather, the Commission a couple of weeks ago presented its proposals for raising ambition for 2030 already, so that by then we would have reduced the emissions of greenhouse gases by 55%. And let us remember one thing ourselves, and let us remind this to the rest of the world. The European economy, since the 90s, has already reduced its emissions by 25%. And the economy, thanks to that, dare I say, has increased by 62, has grown by 62%. So decoupling of emissions and economic growth is a reality, is feasible, economically feasible, technologically possible. Therefore, we should stop this dialectics which happens in some fora about the trade-offs between climate policy and climate growth and economic growth. They are both hand in hand. And here is where the pact comes in, the European Climate Pact comes in, because it aims, the pact is an initiative which aims to make a difference by providing space for climate action by people, communities like yours, organizations in all sectors of the society and in all corners of Europe. We aim at giving everyone a voice and the space to share information, and more importantly, to design and carry out new climate-related actions, showcasing as well solutions that have worked in one place or the other, and supporting the solutions that can follow. With the Climate Pact that we will be announcing formally, and will be giving, of course, more details about it at the beginning of December. But we have a number of foundations that we have, by the way, put out for consultation during this summer. So as I was saying, the pact is a space that will allow people talking to each other, building a common understanding of what climate change means, and your community is instrumental for this to happen. Get also inspired and act to encourage tangible action by the different stakeholders, and to develop shared leaderships, because everybody has a role to play in this transition. There are already many initiatives out there, and we want to help those to grow and to become really a European movement. The pact will be an open and evolving initiative, and you are all helping us to shape it. and we will continue shaping it once it will be launched in December. So please accept my invitation, eTwinning community, schools, educators around Europe, to take an active role in this pact. Awareness raising, education are important parts, will be important parts of this pact. So your contribution is very important, because the pact, among other things, can amplify the impact of the great work you are already doing. And there are many ways in which you will be able to participate in the pact. You will see that there are ways of participating as an organization, as a school, or as an individual, as a teacher, as a student, as a citizen. We are looking, as we have said in our consultation, for Climate Pact ambassadors. These are people, citizens that represent themselves or an organization willing to spread the good word about climate action, to understand better what this climate crisis is, and to inspire new productive actions. And of course, teachers and other education experts could be excellent in this role. Ambassadors, yes, but we are also encouraging concrete commitments from individuals, organizations, as I was saying, wishing to join the movement with concrete climate actions or pledges, projects, commitments. For example, schools could rally behind projects like green roofs with solar panels, in different ways of addressing the waste management, turning down a little bit the thermostat, showing all these actions, showing that climate action means something in practice. So we look forward working with you, with the whole education community in the pact. Let us remember one thing: there is no action which is too small. And let us remember that acting together, we will succeed. And we need you, the education community. Thank you so much for being there with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to go like the ambassador thing, and in eTwinning we have the eTwinning ambassadors who promote eTwinning. So I think that you can really count on our community, because we are good promoters. Teachers are really good promoters. And I suppose you will also see the book, because we have contribution from your DG. And you can see that already there are many projects. So I think that this pact actually, eTwinners can create projects, work together from different countries, and come up with many ideas that can be useful maybe for you, and they work with their students. And I also want to say that you have created a really nice interactive website in DG Climate Action. So I advise all the teachers to go to the book. They find the links. There are interactive games. There is a very nice and very interesting magazine there. So I think that you can count a lot on our community for that.
I am sure. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to further working together. Thank you so much also for your kind words.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And now we go to our next part. And what is the next part? I suppose you all know your national support services and the partner support agencies. And these are the people that we have in all eTwinning countries, and they are there for you. They work really hard to support all teachers, to provide you guidance, to help you with any issue you may have in eTwinning. And we really want to thank them for their work. And as every year, we have a greeting from the NSS. It's the small, how we call them, NSS and PSA, National Support Services and Partner Support Agencies. But this year, this greeting has also a message to give you. Would you like to watch and see what all our colleagues are saying to you? Let's see.
Welcome to the eTwinning Annual Conference 2020.
It is our first continental online conference.
and we have planned to make it
more exciting and collaborative than ever.
As you all know, this year we have been addressing the topic of climate change and environmental challenges.
Climate change is happening now.
And students worldwide have taken to the streets,
becoming agents of change.
The young are fighting
for a greener and more sustainable
tomorrow starting today.
This is why it is important
that you, the teachers,
allow and encourage them
to express your concern
and work together on solutions.
We have seen many of you
via your e-twinning projects and activities,
embarking on a journey of sustainability.
So we invite you to use
this conference as an opportunity.
Share your experiences
with your colleagues and us.
This year has been full of challenges,
and we have faced them together.
More than ever, e-twinning
has proven to be a community.
Teachers found an online space of comfort,
cooperation and creativity, and it is in this spirit
that we welcome you to the conference.
We hope that in following days
you acquire new knowledge,
deepen your skills,
and find inspiration that you can bring to your students and classrooms.
And of course, find new friends
among the 600 participants
of this e-twinning conference.
We will be here to help you
and guide you in this journey.
Are you excited? We definitely are. Let's begin our journey.
So I hope you enjoyed the video. A big thank you to all our national support services and partner support agencies. But you know, we also have the e-twinning friends. And the e-twinning friends are different actually organizations, bodies, initiatives that share the same objectives and the same values of e-twinning. And we collaborate a lot with them. We collaborate a lot with them all over the last years. They organize online seminars, learning events, and every year in the conference we have very nice workshops led by our e-twinning friends, as this year as well. And I would like to introduce you to them through a video to see all the e-twinning friends we have and to understand how we work with them. So let's watch the video. So these are our e-twinning friends, and as I say, we collaborate a lot. And now with the new theme that for 2021 that the Commissioner announced, I think we are going to work more with some of them on the different aspects of digital literacy and disinformation. And now we go to our keynote speaker, Koen Timmers, who is a global teacher who got the Global Teacher Prize in 2017. He was the finalist in 2018, and also he is a Teach Sustainable Development Goals founding ambassador. So, Koen, I would like to welcome you to our eTwinning conference. It is a great pleasure to have you with us today. And you are going to tell us a little bit more about the pandemics and how we can keep having project-based, And I have to say that I'm really looking forward to hear what you have to say, but I believe I already have the answers about the eTwinning community and what they are doing on project-based learning. So
yes.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. Hi.
And I would really like to give you the floor and you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, good morning. I want you to think about when you were a student and go back like 5 or 20 or maybe even 45 years. And I want you to think about what you remember about those highlights being at the school, in a classroom. And in my case, those are the moments, the most funny moments or like the embarrassing moments, but also those moments with the aha moment. That is what we really want as a teacher, you know. We want to spark imagination. And so today I will speak as a teacher. I've been teaching for 20 years, still teaching at this very moment. I also launched several global educational projects, and I've been doing research about technology enhanced learning, but also about project-based learning and collaborative learning. And so all of my slides I will be showing at this very moment will be focusing on that information as a researcher and a teacher. What's the purpose of education? Let's start from scratch. The purpose of education is that we want our students to learn and we want them to have those very important skills, etc. And 5 years ago, I wanted to know more about this, and I decided to take a master course in the UK while I was teaching. And during reading some articles and doing some research, I stumbled upon this quote, and this was really an eye-opener for me. It's an article from Jean Leif. It's already 30 years old, I would say. And she claims that teaching is neither necessary nor sufficient to produce learning. And this is something you have to remember, because she's willing to say two important things. Education is not about teaching, it is about learning. It's not about the teacher, it's about the student at all times. And second, students are able to learn in very different ways, not only by being instructed by a teacher, and they can even learn without a teacher. So I've been keeping this quote at the back of my mind for all those years, and it somehow changed the way I teach. Because students are able to learn by doing and maker spaces. There's playful learning, hands-on, minds-on, etc. There's also collaborative learning in which students learn from each other. We know that collaboration is important. Once you go and get a job, you have to work in a team as well. There's also flipped learning in which we flip our classroom or the way students learn. Some others call this blended learning, depending on the school and the country you live in. And there is project-based learning. Once you go on social media, I don't know whether you are on social media, but you can find initiatives like Ditch That Textbook and Flip Learning, etc., etc. Many people, teachers who found their own framework and try to be an advocate for like, stop moving to direct learning, this has to have an alarming light, etc. But the thing is, and this is where it gets really complicated, when you think like, okay, this is just social media, let's take a look at research, then even in that framework, we can see that some of the researchers totally claim that the only way to learn is direct instruction. Offering knowledge to the students is very key. They even claim, some of those researchers claim that project-based learning doesn't make any sense and that it is all about instructing our students and making sure that that way is the best. Another group of researchers, and the amount of research being done is equally high, claims that direct instruction is really not the way to go. We all have been instructed for 15 years when we were young, and the only way is shifting to very different ways, including project-based learning, collaborative learning, etc., focusing more on the skills. Now, getting complicated, right? What I would add to this discussion is that there is no holy grail. You simply cannot claim as a teacher or as a researcher that the only way to go is like project-based learning or direct instruction. It simply depends on the age of your students, on the topic you are going to teach, even on your school, the culture, etc., etc. So you as a teacher have to be some kind of a creative pedagogical engineer making the right decision for that certain topic. There's still one framework I'd like to show to you, and this is going to be the boring part of my presentation, but yet important, I think. This is more from the area of those who believe in direct instruction, and they came with 6 strategies for effective learning. And I will make sure that I will not elaborate on this too much and too long, but still it will give you some great insights. First of all, there is this one, the concrete examples. It is important as a teacher to use concrete examples to supplement content that is conceptual, okay? So those can make ideas easier to understand and remember. For example, greenhouse with the greenhouse concept with climate change, that is a really tough concept to explain. So by giving and handing out some examples to your students, which they may understand very easily, they will immediately understand how it works. The second one is elaboration. Elaboration is that by connecting new information with concepts which are already in the student's memory, the students are able to increase the extent to which these ideas are organized in their minds. So basically, they need prior knowledge. That is key. The next 2 I combined because those more refer to studying at home, but interleaving occurs when different areas are tackled in a sequence, different ideas. So, and this is quite surprising and interesting. When a student is studying at home, rather than studying chapter A and then moving to B and then moving to C, it's more, it's basically better to learn a part of A and then go to B for a chunk and then to C and then going back to A, another chunk, etc. Spaced practice means that restudying the same information spaced over time will lead to a greater retention of the subject and in the long-term knowledge, basically. And then the next one, retrieval practice. Retrieval practice means that retrieving knowledge improves memory. So ask your students to write and to sketch while putting away the textbook, because that is really important for the students to recall the information on their own without your help. And the last one, nearly there, is dual coding. Dual coding means that basically a picture is worth 1,000 words. Making sure that students are able to pair the words with graphics means that you are combining 2 important ways to take in information, which is a visual and an auditory format. So keeping those in mind, let's move on. And the important thing that being able to study and learn and memorize things is still very different sometimes as what is required as skills when you go and get a job. This was released and posted yesterday by the World Economic Forum, and they always post the top 10 and the top 5 and the top 20 skills of 2025. And when we can see, it is really important for students that they are able to analyze data, not only read and memorize information, but also analyze. They have to be able to solve complex problems, think critically, and those are basically also skills which were stressed and mentioned by the Commissioner Gabriel earlier this morning. Creativity, how important is that? It's so interesting to focus on creativity. Like for example, for Lego, when I was young, 25 years ago, you bought a box of bricks and you were able to build everything with this box of bricks. And now, when I go and buy a box of Lego for my son, you can only build an airplane with that, or like a boat. It's impossible with how it was designed today to build everything, okay? So those are very important skills which will make a distinction between us as human beings and machines and AI, etc. Something you need to check after this presentation is Google Duplex. Google Duplex is already able to replace people at call centers. It's an interesting technology, but to make a difference between us and machines, we really need those important skills. And I don't want to claim that AI is going to replace us as a teacher, but it may replace some jobs. And this is what really irritated and frustrated an American professor, and he is called Tony Wagner, and he claims that there is a huge gap between learning and finding a job. And this is his framework. He wrote a book with the 7 survival skills. And most of them are the same as we already noticed in the previous slide, with critical thinking and collaboration and etc. But imagine a teacher who graduated last year and this year is for the very first year in the classroom, his or her classroom. You have to be able to adapt, right? Suddenly, this teacher has to use Zoom and other tools in order to teach. And I'm pretty sure that teacher was not trained how to do that during those 3 or 4 years going to school and training. Now, again, let me come back to this slide. There's no holy grail. For some subjects and ages, you really need to give direct instruction. And sometimes you have to shift to other approaches and pedagogies as well. But you as an eTwinner, I'm sure that you already know that part. Now, what I would say is when you start teaching about climate change, I don't want students being able to memorize definitions about climate change. I want students who are able to solve problems, who learn in a very authentic way, who have fun, who are engaged, and who are working with others to solve this problem and even take meaningful action. And that is, let me come back to project-based learning. Is there still room for project-based learning? Well, let's take a look. This time I took just an image from social media or just by Googling it, and you can see and notice a lot of skills already mentioned. Collaboration is key. We need to give quality feedback as a teacher. We need to allow our students to present what they came up with, to reflect. It has to be authentic and a real world problem. They have to be able to do inquiry. They have to be able to create a partnership with communities so they can pitch their solutions, etc., etc. And so 5 years ago, I decided to go with problem-based learning as well, and I created a project on my own to solve somehow climate change. And I thought, like, how about doing this on a global scale, not just in my community, in my school, but how about connecting students from different continents so that they are able to share their findings to each other? And this was the Climate Action Project. What we thought is, like, it's very different to find topics to teach about with students from other continents. But the UN Global Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, offer basically a great framework for that, like poverty, gender equality, sustainability, and climate is one of those. And we wanted to make this a student-centered experience. We wanted the students to do the work. We wanted them to explore, to brainstorm, create, to share their findings and solutions, to present, but also to discuss, which is part of the collaborative learning experience. And every week they had to share their findings in video. But also there were some live interactions as well. Let's take a look. This was in Sweden, and students in Sweden created pizza boxes and used pizza boxes to create sceneries and think about how to solve this problem of climate change. But we also, and this was really interesting, this is a group in Israel and also a group in Argentina, and the teachers have been teaching science, but also math, English, literature, biology, even physical education, and they all were able to find a way to match this with their curriculum and to do this project in their classroom with their students. But also all ages. We had students from 6 to 22, even students at the universities have been taken part of this project. And some of them went to the water, to a river, and they examined water. Some students, they invited the parents to the classroom. This is a school in Belgium, in Antwerp. And what they wanted to do is show the teachers and also the parents what they want to change at home and in their school. So bringing change bottom up. That is more than just memorizing facts. It's really showing, like, listen, mom, this is what I found out. Let's bring change at home as well. Let's try to avoid using single-use plastics, and let's try to use the bike instead of the car. But not everyone had fancy technology. Some students in refugee camps, even in Kenya and Tanzania, they were using pen and paper, but still participated in this project. And they created small videos, and they had to use WhatsApp because that's the best tool for them. And we published those pictures and videos at our website, so everybody was able to learn from each other. In Turkey, they made their own song, and research confirms that students become more creative when they're able to create their own knowledge, basically. This is a school in Sierra Leone, and 2 of those students died because of climate change, because of mud flows. They shared their story by creating a very small video. They only have internet access on Sunday. And imagine what happens when students in New Zealand and other countries are taking a look at that video. That is how we bring empathy into our classrooms. How to do empathy with a textbook, I don't know. This is how we did it. And we also shifted to live interactions. The challenge with live interactions is language. Maybe you don't speak English very well, but also the time zones. But still, we traveled hundreds of thousands of miles globally. And this is the part students really, really love. They love having that interaction. I remember a school in Sweden having an interaction with students in South Africa, and they still are sending letters to each other with food and things from their own homes. When I have to speak and teach my students about Moscow or something, I would have to read a book about it. For me, that doesn't make any sense, What I would do is asking somebody from Moscow, somebody from Russia to share about their city and what's going on over there. And then as a supplement, you can use your textbook. What we did is we invited experts globally. This is an expert from Discovery Channel, and she shared how they made a very good series, Project Earth. And students learned to use technology from each other. So they were not going to one classroom to learn how to use PowerPoint. No, they learned to create a PowerPoint while they were exploring about climate change effects and solutions. And this is also how we disseminated really interesting technology. I didn't know before that project began that there were virtual reality goggles, only like $5, in which you can put your own smartphone. And then by using Google Expeditions, which is a free tool, students are able to travel all over the place. In every continent, they can go to Australia, they can go to the Louvre, etc., etc. And now you can even add your own sceneries to this tool as well. So it's not only about climate, it's also about learning from each other how they approached this project as well. Like the green screen, this allows you with some app, a free app, allows you to simulate that you are in some kind of a talk show or in a newsroom as well. We had students in 50 European countries working at one Minecraft world all together. They created their own world, and at every single time somebody was working in this world. We also had students in Tunisia who created their own game at the end of the project. And this teacher discovered that her students aged 16 basically believe everything they read on the internet. So she decided to dedicate this project to tackling fake news and making this something about critical thinking. We had students coming to school during 6 weeks of holidays, and still the students came to school. How extraordinary is that, just to be part of this project? But they also came up with solutions. In Indonesia, they created eco bricks, and they worked with a company, so to make learning more authentic. In Canada, they 3D printed coral reefs to prevent those from bleaching. We had students in Nigeria creating their own biogas plants and biomass plants and bringing those to communities. Their own solar-driven cars, which actually worked, or their own recipes for bioplastics, and creating their own editable water bubbles. That really is extraordinary, I think. That is something what really triggers me, how to do that, how create this. And those students were not even aged 12. Students who used aquaponics after having a Skype call with students from Malawi who claimed that they are not able to grow plants because they have not sufficient water, they have insufficient water. And so aquaponics allowed to grow plants with 80% less water. The students from America shipped this to Malawi and even were invited at the University of Oxford to share their solution. They went to prime ministers in Sweden, they did flash mobs in Germany and went on a march, and this was before Greta Thunberg in Peru with 400 students in their cities. Recycling. These students brought national change. So what started as a project-based learning experience, and let's do something else and memorizing facts, grew to something in which they created national change. They invited the Minister of Environment. They received a letter from their president with congratulations, and they brought national change with the green dots in Ireland. And this is really mind-blowing for me. In Malawi, the teacher told me, like, we started to plant 60 million trees to save a lake. 60 million trees planting in one nation because of one small project. Now, COVID has complicated things, and it made it really extraordinary to teach. And I want to congratulate you all because I know that it was not easy at all to teach in those circumstances. So I really salute you for doing this, because it's not really easy in those times, in this era of pandemic, to do this. But basically, it comes down of using technology. And I noticed a lot of teachers claiming that they were really exhausted after one day, after teaching on Zoom or Google Hangouts or other tools. I noticed teachers claiming that no student have to sit through a Zoom lecture online. And this is interesting because obviously that is somehow right. You know, we don't want students to listen all of a sudden to 8 hours of Zoom lectures, but we now know, due to the previous slides, that sometimes we need to offer some direct instruction. The thing is that there was made one big mistake. What teachers have been doing is they heard that Zoom is the answer to Corona, and they started to teach live online with any tool, a video conferencing tool. They made a mistake of directly connecting technology to content. And what should happen is that you connect pedagogy to the right content, and then you have to figure out which technology makes sense and is available for your students at that time. And that is something really crucial, and I will show you a few examples during the next slides. But something what is also really important is that one can teach, and this is the framework for blended learning, one can teach in different ways with 3 important axes. The first axe is online teaching versus face-to-face. In the classroom or at home, basically. I grade out face-to-face because during Corona that was not an option in my country, in Belgium. The second axe is that we can teach synchronous and that we can teach or learn asynchronous. Synchronous means live at this very moment. This webinar is live, it's not recorded, it is synchronous. Asynchronous means that you create a video and send it to your students and they can learn whenever they want. Or this can be a podcast or like a text they have to read or the textbook, etc. Then we have the ability to teach individually or to learn individually or learn in a group from each other, collaborative. So we need to remind two things basically. Pedagogy is key, and we have to connect our technology to pedagogy and not directly to tech content and those different axes. So how to learn remotely about climate change with project-based learning. Let's take an example. I would like to teach about the greenhouse effect. First of all, I will think about pedagogy. In my classroom, I would have explained my students about greenhouse effect through direct instruction by showing them a small video with examples, and students, I know they find this very hard to learn, and so they have many questions. That is what I keep in mind. But I have to do this remotely at home. So what I decide with those axes is that we are doing this online, synchronous, and individual. So as a teacher, I will start using Zoom and I will teach them live about greenhouse. I can share a video and students are able to have an interaction because of I'm using this synchronous approach. Second thing is that I teach them about the difference between weather and climate. This is easier to explain. And the effects of climate change like floodings and bushfires or wildfires or hurricanes or temperature rising, etc., etc. Some of the students even already know about this by watching the news or reading the newspaper, etc. So in the classroom, before Corona, I would have explained this very briefly. I would demonstrate it and I would have shifted to some kind of a discussion in which the students are able to learn from each other. So when I shift to my axis, I will do the asynchronous, individual. I will send them an instructional video, because some of the parents have like 3 students at home. It wouldn't make any sense to teach them live with 1 laptop in their family with a very poor internet connection. So I shift to asynchronous learning. I send them an instructional video they can watch anytime, anywhere, and that would be the best approach. And then the solutions, this is the really interesting part. You don't want to give away the answers with this one. You want students to come up with solutions. Those can be prototypes, ideas, drawings. Every age will have its own approach, but in the classroom, I would have taken a look at last year's examples, solutions. I would decide with the students, like, what do you want to do? You know, do you want to have focus on cars, maybe solar, maybe you want to go to like planting trees. It's up to you. And how to do that online? Well, I would do this synchronous. So students are able to give their feedback to each other. And I would still give a small instruction to the students so they have the right context. And then I would give them the opportunity to go in breakout rooms in Zoom, so that the students are able to talk with each other, to create some small of presentation. Then I would bring them back and the students were able to present. If that's not working with you because you don't have Zoom, you don't have a tool which has breakout rooms or something like that, why not asking your students to create videos and asking them to send those videos to each other? Or they can use a Google document. And I know this is keeping in mind and thinking that all of the students have internet connection. So I'm not, I know of this problem, you know, we have the haves and the have-nots, and that is a major issue. I'm not directly going to address during this presentation, but that is not obviously the first thing to take care about, okay? So just giving you a few examples how you can shift to project-based learning, and the fact that you have to keep those axes in mind, but also the fact that you have to think always that pedagogy is key. That is the thing, the basic thing, that is the basis of all learning. That is what you have to make sure that you will have as your starting point, and then you will find those tools which will work for you and your students. So what is also important to know is that people are starting to talk about hybrid learning. Hybrid learning means that some of the students are at home, some of the students are in a classroom. The teacher may be in a quarantine at home and the students are in the school, those kind of scenarios. And we had those during the project in which students in Spain were in the classroom and students in India were all online. This was some kind of a hybrid. And this really brings a lot of challenges, but this will be like, this may be the next level. In my school, we have to do this because we only can have half of the capacity in the classroom. We cannot have more than 10 students at the same time. So what happens with 20 students? 10 will be at home and 10 will be in a classroom. And that is really tricky to take care of. That is hybrid learning. How to do project-based learning online? Just a few slides on this. A psychologist, David Daniel, claimed that the goal of learning should be creating knowledge that is durable, as in it will go far beyond the length of the course. It is usable, which can be actually used by the students, and it is flexible so that it can be used in new contexts. I created a small framework. I will go very briefly through this. You will all receive the slides after this presentation. Feel free to send me an email as well. But this brings everything together, all of those axes, all the research, but also the important skills part of this project-based learning approach. First of all, the first stage is basically that you need to make sure that the students have prior knowledge. If they don't, you have to give direct instruction in this stage to fill any gap. You can ask to do them an online survey to check whether they all know what they need to know. And you need to use retrieval practice and space practice and self-explanation. There we already mentioned before in those weeks before you will go, because this will bring knowledge and skills and long-term memory. And then you have like academic practice. This means that you have to shift from guided practice to independent practice. So instead of in-person Zoom calls or video lessons, which I already mentioned, you have to go to students working independently, maybe still on a Zoom with you, so they can ask questions at all times, or they may go and work asynchronously, but they are still able to ask you any questions. The next stage is that you need to find the right time and make connections as well. There really are plenty of big issues facing the world, like poverty, gender inequality. I already mentioned those SDGs. Make sure to find any connections between what you have learned in the classroom and those real world issues. And make sure that you are able to understand those people who might benefit from the solution. When you're speaking about poverty, make sure that you connect with the community, so that the students know which problems they are addressing and which solutions, who will benefit from those solutions as well. Next stage, make sure that those projects are highly collaborative. Make sure and prepare your students to use the right tools, that they know how to use those. Make sure that they know how to do this independent work with clear objectives of planning, choosing the right strategy, monitoring progress, making adjustments, etc. And make sure that they still are able to be kids. They enjoy each other's company. Make sure that they know when some students are starting to stray, that you have their attention. We in my school have the 2 minutes rule. They have to answer a question within 2 minutes, otherwise we will say you are absent. And make sure that you don't have this scenario of one person does it all. Make sure that you have very clear roles for the group members, and you can rotate those roles throughout the year as well. And then the next and the last one, make sure that you are right and sure that students have all the materials required. We don't want to end up in a project-based learning in which the parents have to have a 3D printer in the basement, or they're required to have a master in science. We want the students doing the work. And the best scenario, in case you have to shift to remote learning, is that you still are able to do this half of the time in the classroom. Make sure that that you don't end up having parents doing the work, but also give them really good, solid, clear, encouraging and specific feedback during their learning process. Here's an invitation. I know that you all have been creating wonderful projects, and congratulations for them. You are free to join the Climate Action Project. That is the project I explained about and elaborated on earlier. It is running at this very moment. We have 2.5 million students at this very moment participating in this project. We have made a curriculum which can be used in every country. We did this with WWF. It's available in 15 different languages. It is supported by ministries of education in 15 different countries. We are working with them. And just an example, it's not only collaboration between students, but also between the teachers. Commissioner Gabriel already stressed and underlined that e-twinning is so much more than just a few projects. It's a community, it's a network to be proud of, to be part of that community. And it's also about sharing those lesson plans and activities. What we did is we created a few activities like creating your own bioplastic with just milk and vinegar. Okay, you can create your own Lego figure. This requires very little amounts of resources, and everybody is able to do this at home. So it would be nice to have your activities as well, because we can only learn from each other. We will even be able to send a message to Mars, thanks to our collaboration with NASA. And this is something the students will remember for 50 years. We once sent a message to Mars. We were the very first to do that in history. They will be able to do that in 2 weeks. We have an initiative within the air. We are sending microbit kits with new kind of sensors so that schools and students are able to do STEM activities and measure the air quality of their school, but also find solutions and take action for it. And we will be wrapping up our project in 2 weeks. With the Climate Action Day, we have presidents, we have a live interview with Jane Goodall, speakers from the UN, NASA, WWF, the European Parliament. We have student activists. We have 3 times the amount of speakers as I'm showing right here. So this would be my last slide, I guess. Feel free to send me any questions. It would be wonderful to have you on board of the project, but I know that you're already doing your own projects. Let's make those memories for our students, because project-based learning is really important. It's not replacing direct instruction. You need both, but let's create those very important moments for our students, because we don't only want students able to memorize definitions. In most cases, they only can remember for like 1 year about climate change and other issues. No, we want students taking meaningful action and able to solve those problems and creating those really important skills they need for their future jobs. And yes, let's do this. And thank you so much. Let me come back to you.
We can, yes, go back to, so we can see you full screen. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was really nice, you know, the theory combining with really many practical examples. I would like, before you leave, to ask you something. So you referred to Antonella Zils saying being a great teacher in class doesn't mean that you're a great teacher online. So because this online education is, we are using it a lot lately, if you would give like 3 recommendations, 3 top things that teachers have to take into account when they use online education, when they have to teach their students online, what would that be?
Okay, so first of all, it is a challenge. So you will fail at some time. And it's perfectly fine to fail as a teacher during this pandemic. It is perfectly fine to say to the parents and the teachers like and the students like, this may go wrong. That's fine, you know, we are trying and next time it will be better. So don't be too nervous and stressed about this. Just take it as it is and do your best with it. Also, I think that it is really important that teachers are being trained how to do this. It's really important for teachers being supported in this, okay? Suddenly, being a teacher is something quite different. You have to use technology and maybe you're not really comfortable with doing that. Maybe your students don't have the right materials and connections, etc. So it is really a challenge. And third of all, I would recommend that the school has to come up with some kind of a framework, like we are going to use these tools, making sure that not all of the teachers are going to start using their own tools. So not that a student has like Zoom for the first hour and then they shift to Google Meet, and then they will have to use Teams for another teacher, so that everybody is at the same line. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I think that you gave quite a lot of ideas for the eTwinning community for projects, and I hope we will also see you in the eTwinning community, you know, and spread all these ideas among our teachers. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now we are almost over, but not over, because eTwinning conference without networking activity? Is it possible, Ute?
Of course not, Irene.
Of course not. And actually, we are online. But even if we are online, we know we are an online community. So as an online community, we can network online and we can do many things online. But I will actually give the floor to my colleague, Ute Batista, who is going to explain to you a very, very exciting activity that was prepared.
Yes, indeed. We have a very exciting activity prepared for all of you. And we hope that everybody jumps on board. We need editors. How is this going to work? So we prepared for you a fun activity that you can also learn, that you can get to know your colleagues, and that you can use in your classroom. That's the main point, that you can use activity in your classroom when you go back to school. And also we will have a concrete output after this conference, and I'll show you in a minute what that will be. So we will create all together a collaborative online magazine. This magazine will have sections as any other magazine. You have already here a sneak view of the magazine. And how will you work? You will work in groups. So we'll have in total 33 groups. You should have this information already in the email that was sent to you, also with the meeting room that you should join. Don't go there yet, okay? Listen to the instructions until the end. So we have 33 groups organized in themes. So we have writing, photography, innovative classroom, culinary, drawing, crafts, and you can do a lot of things in each of these groups. Basically, you just need to be creative, innovative, all the things that eTwinners are. So I think it'll be very easy for you. What does your group need to do? You need to decide in which section you will have to contribute, will you contribute. Then you need to create an output, a concrete output, and then you need to decide in your group and choose one person that will send this output to the editorial team. There's an editorial team behind the scenes composed by members of the National Support Service and Partner Support Agencies and the Central Support Service that will combine everything in the online magazine. Very, very important is that you need to take into account copyright rules when producing your output. Okay, so please don't forget these details. When are you supposed to meet with your group? There will be 3 moments, okay? 2 today and 1 tomorrow. These moments are described in the program. So in these moments, you should join the group, the meeting room, sorry, that is mentioned in the email that was sent to you, okay? So please join your groups in these 3 specific moments, organize your work, and complete the activity. Will there be an animator to support the activities? Yes, of course. We prepared 2 types of support for you. The first one is, of course, the animators. The animators are National Support Service members and Partner Support Agency members that will be there within your meeting room, prepared to explain you and guide you through the instructions and clarify any question that you may have regarding the activity. This is the first area. The second is that you can actually go to the website of the conference and check the instructions that were specifically designed for you. And they have this look, this layout, so you will identify them very, very quickly. So just read them through, and also the animator will guide you through these instructions. So what do you have to do now? I know that some of you are already jumping into the rooms. I kindly ask you to wait a little bit, a few seconds. First, you need to check your email. Second, you need to confirm your group number. Third, you need to join the meeting room. Then you need to wait for the instructions of the animators. Then, very, very important, you need to have fun with your colleagues, get to know your colleagues, have some fun. And if you need any further information, visit the conference website for more instructions. And I think that's all on me, Irene.
Check my email and check in which group I am. So I would really like to join this activity. So the plenary session is coming to an end. What I would like to ask you now, as Ruta said, the next activity is the networking activity. So go and check where you are and have a little bit of fun. Don't forget, we also have 2 workshop sessions today, and you all got the email with the instructions for the workshop you are going to attend. Between the workshops, we also have some really nice creative breaks. Take the opportunity, it's another opportunity to network and meet people from all over Europe. So the real work of the conference starts. Let's start working together, collaborate together, have a great time and enjoy the rest of the conference.